everybody, welcome to Geeks and Drinks. I'm Jason.
I'm Jordan. Hello.
And we'll just see where the internet takes us this week. We do have to talk about the thing that came out just a few hours ago, which was the official premiere of Kung Fury. This thing has been lauded amongst everyone on the internet ever since the Kickstarter back in late December. It was something that themselves, they said it was going to be a complete homage to everything 80s action movie. But there were some points where they kind of even further jumped the shark.
The whole point of that movie was jumping the shark.
Oh, yeah. It was. But the thing is, though, because it was intentional and because it was so absurd,
yeah,
it was entertaining as hell.
I was a little weirded out the fact that it was only 30 minutes, though. Because I remember when you're like, dude, watch it. It's finally out. Mm-hmm. It's like, the fuck? Really? Only 30 minutes?
Well, you don't... Well, yes.
But then, yeah, that's not surprising. I mean, I completely forgot when they announced it, the fact that it was only December.
Yeah, December of, 2013 is when they first started the Kickstarter. It's one of those things where the majority of it was by one guy, one Swedish guy, and it always takes someone outside of the U.S. to truly appreciate 80s pop culture.
Take someone from a different country to appreciate American culture.
Yeah, kind of odd how that one worked out. I think
they like the stuff that we produce. They just hate us as a people.
That seems to be about right, yeah.
Which I don't blame them. I mean, on the one hand, as nerds, all we do is love the pop culture, and we hate everyone around us.
So we know the feeling, then.
That's why we love Doctor Who.
There we go. I like it. But yeah, this one Swedish guy was a huge fan of it, decided to not only get the Kickstarter to back him on this, but the initial idea behind this was essentially a demo reel of what he could do as a 3D designer.
It made me want to play Double Dragon Neon, that's all I know.
Oh, that game is so much fun. But yeah, so the Kickstarter, massive success. They had the premiere in Sweden earlier today, and of course, like we said before, it was officially released, a full 30-minute video on YouTube. To kind of help promote this, what was it, about like a week and a half ago, they had the David Hasselhoff music video.
I have no idea.
Oh, have you not watched that?
No, I haven't been closely watching this as you have.
Oh,
all I know is basically everything you've been like, Jordan, watch this. Cool. Because, I mean, for the most part, I have my shit that I look and I do, but for the most part, anything too weird and random, it's like, all right, Jason will tell me if it's important.
True. It was definitely random as hell, but come on, it was entertaining as fuck.
Hoff probably needs the work.
Yeah, true. Very true. But
those man girdles are expensive.
Not to mention the endless wigs that he must go through every single week.
Is it wigs? I just assumed he did that weird 90s hairspray paint thing on the back of your dome.
If you do it long enough and brush it long enough, you can have a full head of hair, which is
presumably,
one bottle.
Yeah. You know, just enough to cover the little friar tuck.
Isn't it like an old Vegas performer trick or something like that?
Shit, if I know.
Yeah, I remember
Wayne Newton probably does that shit. Fuck if I know.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. But this is not going to be the end of Kung Fury as we know it, because recently it was at the Cannes Film Festival, and just before then, David Sandberg actually flew to Hollywood with an extended script with some help from people in the industry. This thing's going to get picked up for a feature-length film.
No.
The thought of that, to me, I mean, in this age of, sadly, Expendables...
I mean, I don't... Stretching it out to a 2-hour movie...
No,
I don't know.
I could easily see this being
if they want to extend it an hour, hour 10, then yeah. 90 minutes, even then I'd be like...
Well, you're going to at least get an hour and a half out of it, because whatever budget whatever company's going to give him for this extended version, one, they're going to redo all the shots, which means they need to bring some sort of production company in, because this guy can't do it by himself.
That's still 30 minutes.
You're also going to have someone help expand the storyline to try to...
Yeah, see, at that point, I wouldn't even call it an expanding, I would just call this a trailer. I would call this the extended trailer, and then we're going to get an actual movie later.
True.
Because it's story-wise, it's not the strongest thing.
It's an 80s action homage. What did you expect?
Some of the 80s movies had
Kung Fu guy needs to go back in time to defeat Adolf Hitler, who is the Kung Fu master.
He's the Kung Fuhrer.
who can magically shoot through an 80s brick cell phone and shoot an entire police station up.
It wasn't for the fact that it had a lot of cursing, it seemed very Adult Swimish.
Very, yeah. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I ever saw this on Adult Swim, you know, at the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning spot.
I'd say that's the only way I think they could do it, because, I mean, it's Cartoon Network still.
But, of course, they can't do that right now because El Rey Network picked it up, like we talked about last week. So, unless they have some sort of marketing deal, you never know.
Fuck if I know. Maybe they do some weird kind of packaging deal with it. Remember how we talked about Constantine was part of NBC? Mm-hmm. So technically it could go to Sci-Fi? Right. Maybe they have the same thing where El Rey's part of whatever basic cable network bullshit. So they could go to other things like Comedy Central or things of that nature.
True. I see we're jumping right into the drink now.
I wanted to drink.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk. Conflict of interest.
Absolute great drink. Well, why don't you introduce the drink, and then we'll talk about the relationship to what we're going to be talking about next.
Or we can just talk about it. Basically, last week when we announced we were going to try to watch... Well, not try, we will. We're nerds. We're dedicated to our crafts. We're going to watch a Bond movie every week leading up to Spectre coming out. Because last week it turned out it was exactly 24 weeks until Spectre, exactly 24 movies in the franchise, and its history or back catalog. So last week we watched Dr. No. Mm-hmm. This week we're going to watch From Russia with Love, which is probably my favorite of the Bond movies.
It's up there with me. I'd probably say my top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, and it's not... What? It's campy enough to still be really enjoyable, but it doesn't go too far. I'm not saying that I don't love Jaws or Odd Job or any of the crazy fucking shit that happens later on. Right. But it's still somewhat grounded in reality without being super dark and fucking gritty with the new ones.
The new buzzwords about all that.
So beverage-wise... Bond's, everyone knows Bond, make me a martini, shaken, not stirred. He technically doesn't drink a martini. It's actually a cocktail just called a Vesper, which is comprised of gin, vodka, and whatever the fuck Lillet is. I bought the goddamn thing and I still fucking have no idea. It comes in a pretty bottle. I got lost for 20 minutes at a Total Wine trying to find it. Basically, it's 2 parts gin, 1 part vodka, half part Lillet, and then you take the zest of a lemon in like a long spiral form and throw it in there because the oil from the zest will actually give it flavor. So you end up with this lemony ethanol essentially because it is nothing but straight up pure booze.
But my God, does it taste amazing.
It's not bad. I can definitely see why Bond drinks these. It's probably how he calms the shakes from, doing James Bondy things. But yeah.
So I gotta say though, with Dr. No, it being the first one, obviously you agree with me on this that it was definitely the most grounded when it came to the effects
of the classic ones. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, as biggest you got to effects was Dr. No having his weird little metal hands.
Right. For only what was it, 2 or 3 scenes, if that?
Well, because for the most part he didn't even use them. His hands were stuck in this weird Lego claw-shaped thing.
Right.
It wasn't until the end where you actually saw him bend, and it was just kind of weird. It's like, oh. Mm-hmm. I mean, me being a jackass, how does he masturbate? Or maybe he's like Captain Hook. He's just got weird little hand attachments where it just kind of pops off. He's got weird pocket pussy forms. It's go time. I'm sorry, Grandma. I found out she watches these.
Oh, no.
But other than that, it's... his only weapons or cool gadgets or tools he had was they gave him the Walther PK. He had a small Geiger counter.
Yep.
And that was it.
Yeah, he didn't need anything too elaborate. The story was still entertaining. The action was still there, but nothing really crazy like, oh my God, this speedboat turns into a helicopter or then flies off into space or something like that.
Later in the franchise where he's just rocking a jetpack for some reason.
Or being chased by an evil mastermind on a glacier in supercars with a
you're going straight at Brosnan on that one.
Come on, Brosnan's...
Yeah, but that, again, the beauty of Bond. Bond is, he's like Batman. He's a product of his time.
Yes.
I mean, if you need him to be super over the top and, racing a BMW on a glacier with giant space lasers shooting him, he can do that. Need him hanging out in Jamaica, hitting hitting a fucking tarantula like 10 times with his shoe.
Complete with the music cues.
Yeah,
Bam,
for dramatic
bam, bam,
emphasis.
bam.
He can be that too. Or if you need him, you know, fucking up a Scottish mansion in the middle of fucking nowhere, he can do that as well.
Oh,
I hope the new one's good. I mean, Skyfall was good, but Quantum of Solace was shit.
We forget about Quantum of Solace because of that.
As is Quantum of Solace, like the Star Wars prequels, that didn't happen.
That's pretty much the way I look at it. Like, the only thing on Quantum of Solace that I truly enjoyed was the initial car chase scene, which took place in the first 10-15 minutes of the film. The rest of it was pretty much.
I'm honestly trying to remember that movie, and I can't. The only thing I remember was Gemma Atherton was in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just because she's always in there. She's always in movies as like random hot British chick.
True. Well, the whole thing with all the Bond films, you had all these hot women always play the Bond girls.
Yeah, but I can't even remember like her ironic name or weird ass name. Like in Doctor No, her name was Honey Rider.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if you watched this movie recently. Oh my dear God, please tell me. Create the argument, like comment in the doobly-doos down below, but tell me if I'm wrong in saying that she's retarded. I don't mean that in a bad way, and I don't mean that in the playful, like, oh, she's just stupid or retarded. No, I think this poor woman might actually be mentally handicapped. Yeah. Which makes me feel bad. I'm like, wow, Bond, you might be a bit of a rapist. You are taking advantage of this poor mentally handicapped woman.
And I do have to say, the whole thing with her coming out of the ocean, and
well, it's iconic as shit, though.
It is iconic as shit, but at the same time, though, I look at it and going, what is really so iconic about it, though? I've only seen a couple other Bond girls try to emulate that.
They almost all have. Anytime there's a scene with water, you're gonna have a girl in a random bikini slow walk out of the water.
Who was it? Halle Berry tried to do it the most with that one, and okay, I can understand, some aspects of it, why people were, considered an iconic moment, but it didn't seem that... At the time, it didn't seem like a very big thing to me.
Well, because it fit for me, just because it was that, this beautiful girl coming out of the water. Again, she was very attractive, and I felt guilty because she was retarded. But she came out of the water, she had, the perfectly tan skin. She wasn't super pale, she wasn't super tan. She had the little belt around her bottom bikini bit with the knife attached to it. Yep. And she's like, oh, I fucking got here on my boat and shit like that. Like she had, there was elements of adventure to it, and it kind of set the tone for what the island was like, trying to make it seem more exotic. Or
I didn't think it fully that in depth with that, but now that you've told me that makes more sense to me. It just basically at the time when we were watching, it was like, okay, here's this iconic scene. For the life of me, when we were watching, I could not see what was really so iconic about it. I mean...
Well, it was the first one to do it.
Well, true. I mean, it would have to be the first one to do because it was the first Bond film.
Well, no. I mean, outside of even Bond movies. I think it was the first time you actually had, this moderately adventurous girl half naked coming out of the water. Because Bond was probably one of the first movie franchises where, overtly over-sexualized women.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely a legacy of the 007 films.
In movies back then, there was that moment, or a lot of those moments of women are inferior, they're just sex objects, and yeah, that shit happens.
Right.
But it was the first time where it's like women are just, they were set pieces. I mean, I think I've told you one of my favorite lines, I think it's in Goldfinger, where Bond and some blonde chick or bimbo is hanging out by the pool. Felix walks up. Felix, say hello to Mink. Mink, say goodbye to Felix. What? Sorry, darling. Smacks her in the ass. Man talk.
Yep.
What?
You can never get away with that today.
No. Oh my God, that's...
But that boils down to what you said before. Bond is basically a product of that generation at the time. So, that makes sense. I mean, of course, you also have the whole serial moment with the introduction of James Bond. He's in there playing Baccarat.
Still don't fucking understand that game. I've even tried to read the Wikipedia. I'm like, yeah, fuck that.
There's a reason why in the semi-recent Casino Royale they changed it to poker. Easier to understand worldwide. Baccarat,
well, in the books Casino Royale, isn't that he played poker? It's usually everything else he's playing Baccarat. Like that Baccarat's his game of choice, right? Because it's a more complicated version of poker, and that's why he's good at poker. Like his job as an agent is to fucking read people and be like, that man's full of shit. Let me call his bluff and hopefully he doesn't smash my Nutter Butters with a bit of rope. God, I'm sorry. That scene was gnarly.
Yeah,
I remember sitting in the theaters
that
having
one.
to cross my legs. But like, nope, not okay.
I remember seeing that opening night at the Man's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, and let me say this: because of their massive sound system they have in that theater,
you could hear rope to taint every time.
I'm like,
every member in the male audience going, oh!
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like watching one of those skateboarding videos. Like, it's cool. Like, every now and again, you can laugh at a good nut shot.
Mm-hmm.
But after all, you're like, yeah, no, oh.
Yeah, a coworker of mine actually watches those on a fairly regular basis because he's a skater himself. And a fairly good one at that, too. I've seen some of his videos. The funny thing is that I'll look over to my side and he'll be watching some random video, and I always seem to happen to catch it at the time of, the nut shot or the failure.
I always laugh when I hear about people looking at shit way too much on the internet. It's like, aren't you supposed to be at work? Right up there with, I'm assuming you read or heard about the article about a guy a week ago got in trouble because in the span of a week he watched like 36 hours of porn.
I have not, but that doesn't surprise me, though.
Yeah, there was some guy who got busted for watching porn at work because I guess he would full screen on the computer, like, wasn't even trying to hide
Doesn't even bother?
Like, it just, in an effort so it wouldn't show up at HR,
Mm-hmm.
it's not to give it away right off the bat, like, he brought in DVDs, which I didn't even know people still bought fucking porn DVDs. But he gets to just pop them in, push play, full screen, just do about his business. Which,
all right,
no
then.
pun intended, but that is a ballsy man.
I think it's definitely ballsier than the guy about a year and a half ago that was caught. He was making a 6-figure salary doing some development for some major company, and he was always their best designer, their best programmer, and it found out later on that every single job that he took, he actually contracted out some small group of people in like the Philippines to actually do all of his coding work for him while he just sat there and was on Reddit all day. He would get paid, a good 5-figure payment for doing, said code project. And then he would just pay the guys in the Philippines
pennies on the dollar.
Pennies on the dollar. And he did this for like several years and got away with it.
I don't know if I want to hate him or high five him.
I want to high five the guy. I'm like, that's fucking brilliant.
I wonder if his company eventually realized we're going to cut out the middleman. Can you leave us your references?
God.
It's like, so how did you do this again? So you contacted this number. Like, no, we're not going to fire you. Okay, so this is what you did? Cool. So we no longer have work for you.
Well, they would actually have that information anyways for the sole fact that the way he got caught was because one of the IT guys noticed that there was an external user trying to access their internal database, and he traced it back to like the Philippines. We're like, they've been doing this for months now. Go back to whose account is this? This guy. Go to the nether account. This guy. Start tracing back more information. Check his computer. Yeah, he hasn't done dick. And we've been paying him 6 figures.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Brilliant man.
I mean, fuck that guy, but still.
Game the system to your own advantage, my friends. But going back to 007 real quick. Sean Connery.
He is Bond.
He is quintessentially Bond. You have several other people who have laid claim to the role, but I've yet to come across anybody who claims that there was anybody better than Sean Connery. There's a few who will say that a couple of the other actors were close or on par with Sean Connery, but
Top
no
3
one.
Bonds, go. Top 3 Bonds, go.
Top 3 Bonds. First up, Sean Connery is number 1. Second one, believe it or not, I like the latest ones.
Okay. So, name?
Oh, why did I just blank on his freaking name right now?
Daniel Craig.
Thank you, Daniel Craig.
Try to fucking Google it, you piece of shit.
No, I was just looking up real quick.
All right, number 3.
I can't say Pierce Brosnan. I really can't.
Really?
No. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed those.
He's my number 2.
Films. He's your number 2? Really?
Me, Connery for number 1.
Mm-hmm.
2 is Pierce Brosnan, because that's when I first started watching Bond movies. Like, so when I think back to it, like, I can think back and be like, oh, Bond. I remember when I was just, a young lad, and I can be like, oh, yeah, fuck, GoldenEye, cool.
Right.
And to be honest, most kids, like, that was our first interaction with Bond, because Bond was kind of dormant for a little while.
True, yes, he was. I remember watching them when I was younger, and I thought they were fun, but they were crazy. And I think it was my grandfather that actually sat me down and started watching some of the Sean Connery ones. And instantly I looked at those, then looked at Pierce Brosnan and went, more Sean
Like
Connery.
I said, product of his time.
Yeah, very true.
Number 3? I mean, right off the bat, I think we can agree number 3 is definitely not going to be George Lazenby.
No, George Lazenby is not even on the list by far. He was only in one Bond.
Yeah.
And that was for Her Majesty's Secret Service, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Then there was also the whole time at that point where there was 2 bombs being made at the same time, one by Eon Productions.
The non-broccoli one doesn't count.
Okay, so we're not going to count those ones?
Yeah.
Okay. God.
We're going straight up from Connery to Craig.
Right.
And the ones in between. Do you want me to list them off? Would that help for you?
Go for it, because I can't remember for the life of me right now.
1 through 4, because number 1 was Dr. No, number 2 is From Russia with Love,
Mm-hmm.
3 was, I want to either say Thunderball or Goldfinger. Either way, because that was 1 through 4.
Right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Then there was Diamonds Are Forever.
Here, I'll help you out right there.
No, sorry. Diamonds Are Forever came up after that. In between, after the 4th one. Yeah, Dr. No, From Russia. There you go. You Only Live Twice. Fucking most racist one ever, and it's fucking amazing.
Yes, it is.
Those were all Connery. On
Yep.
Her Majesty's Secret Service, that was George Lazenby, which has, oh my god, the worst fucking scene in all of Bond movies, where George Lazenby's Bond is going through a fucking desk and just pulling out, like, the rebreather from Thunderball, Honey Rider's little fucking belt. And he's like, oh, fond memories. Oh, fuck, that wasn't you.
No, yeah.
You a dick. And then because he did so shit, Diamonds Are Forever came out, and that was back with Sean Connery.
Right.
And then, there you go. Live and Let Die, which, that song's amazing, which was Roger Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And Roger Moore did all of them up until Living Daylights. Wait.
No, he did all the way up to
Living Daylights. He didn't do Living Daylights.
He didn't?
Living Daylights, unless they're missing one.
Oh, well.
Yeah, because I think this list might be missing one, because I know License to Kill is Timothy Dalton, and Timothy Dalton did 2 of them.
Okay, but the list we're looking at, for those of you who are wondering, either in the video or in the audio, we're looking at a timeline of just the Eon-produced James Bond films. That's probably what you're being thrown off at. Obviously, there was...
Wait.
Yeah,
no, For Eyes Only.
Yeah, so
I think they're skipping one for Timothy Dalton.
Spy Who Loved Me, then Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only,
Okay.
Octopussy, View to the Kill,
Okay.
Living Daylights, License to Kill,
Okay.
and then we jumped to GoldenEye at that point.
I could have swore Timothy Dalton did 2 of them.
Oh, well, I'll look into it then.
Then again, this is Wikipedia, and it's not the most credible source, but it's one of those things that it should be.
Well, here's the thing, though. We're going through this every single week anyway, so...
Yeah, we'll get to it eventually.
We'll get to the whole thing.
But, so, number 3 for you? Because I named all of them.
There was a couple times I actually liked Roger Moore. There were a couple times I liked Roger Moore in some of his antics. You disagree with me on
You're
that?
a terrible person. You know why? Because I'm going to say Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton,
Yeah.
3rd favorite Bond. I'm sorry, License to Kill, where, like, MI6 is just kind of like, yeah, no, you can't go after this. I know they fucked over your friend, but we can't allow you to do this. It's emotional.
Right.
And he blatantly is like, yeah, fuck your License to Kill. I'm going to go do what I have to do.
Right.
It was the first time you ever see Bond, like, emotionally lose his shit.
This is true.
And he blatantly... Rampage!
Rampage!
I mean, that's what that movie was.
Yes, it was.
And come on, it had Benicio del Toro. Not Benicio del Toro. Is that his name?
Can't remember.
Come on, he was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He was the attorney. He was the dead guy in Sin City.
Yeah,
Jackie Boy. Yeah, that was like one of his first movies, was License to Kill.
Really?
He's like random hired thug in the background.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, it writes to start somewhere, I guess.
Well, dude, fucking look at fuck it, I'm not even gonna try anymore. Apparently I'm terrible with names today. The guy who played Doc Ock was in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the little guide guys in the beginning.
Yeah, Timothy Dalton was good. He was very good.
Angry eyebrows.
Oh well, but we'll be going through all of them. I hope you guys will be doing that as well. We want to let you guys know that we have the comments on the YouTube page, we have the comments on the website available for you guys to share your thoughts, your responses, your reviews for each of these films every single week, and we'll probably share them on the show as well.
Who knows? If you can get me to laugh while sober, we might actually bring you up and be like, yeah, that guy was awesome.
So yes, next week is From Russia with Love. We have, we may or may not actually have an episode next week.
Yeah, we may not. We will see.
Yes. We will explain that if we don't on a Facebook post next week, so.
I'm getting older. I'm gonna shoot bangs for the first time.
There you go. Preferably sober. And then afterwards, not so much.
Oh yeah, drunken Smash Bros. That's how I intend to end my evening.
That's gonna be so much fun.
But, back to regular newsy type things.
Yeah, let's get over, let's talk about Fox.
I was gonna say, can we talk about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, how they want to remake it? I feel it's only necessary considering we just talked about Sean Connery way too much.
This is true. Yeah, let's talk about this.
That was his last movie.
You know, I'm sure there are worse movies to end a career on. I just can't think of a worse one.
I know there are others. I think Cracked put out an article about something like this.
Okay.
Where it's like amazing actors who ended their career on a fucking low note.
Yeah.
And one of the ones they didn't mention was Sean Connery ending it with
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen back in 2003, 2004.
I don't know. Like
yeah.
I read the books eventually, or the books because there's two of them. And then I saw the movie, and I'm like, wow, this
is nothing like the books.
I mean, but I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm not the biggest Alan Moore fan.
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate some of his work, but sometimes he comes off a bit too preachy for my liking.
Mm-hmm.
But
I just laugh at Fox because in Hollywood box office numbers, this was not really a huge success. It had about a $78 to $80 million budget. It made about $179 million. I think not even domestic, worldwide. Fox semi-recently decided, you know what? Let's try and reboot this into a TV series. And it never got off the ground, thankfully. But Fox has not let up on it. They basically want to take another shot at it. They want to do a movie reboot. Obviously, you're not going to get any of the cast back for this one for damn good reason. Hopefully, they'll stick closer to the initial story that made that so popular in the first place. But do we really need this, though? Is this just another cash grab because Fox wants to hedge their bets?
Yes and no. I mean, you do something that was a safe bet. I think someone probably did go back and look at the numbers and be like, hey, you guys thought it was a flop, but look at the numbers. Right. We had a budget of 78 and we made 179. We made $101 million on this movie.
Yeah.
Isn't it worth giving another shot where we can make even more money?
True.
Especially considering I actually read an article the other day basically explaining why Hollywood has a problem with original ideas, and then they used the movie Tomorrowland as that example. Because Tomorrowland did not do well at all.
No, it did not.
And it was the closest we've had to having an original idea in a long time.
It had the best shot. You had a great cast. You had a fantastic director and creator behind it. Have you seen the movie yet, Tomorrowland? No. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought that it may faltered a little bit during the third act, but overall, very, 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 very enjoyable film. We'll definitely want to go see it again. Kind of sad that it's not doing as well, but I think the one problem, or one of the reasons why it did not do so well, was because of the confusion by the general public.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know the movie had come out until you're like, hey, we're gonna go see it, do you want to go see it? And I'm like, oh, I have to wait for the girlfriend to go see it.
Right.
Like, I didn't even know the fucking movie was out.
Gotcha.
Like, let's be honest, most of the publicity for the movie wasn't very much.
No, I mean, they had a very, very well done ARG alternate reality game. that actually expanded through the theme parks, expanded through D23 at one point. It was actually very thorough and actually very well done.
Okay, but that's...
But the thing is, though...
But the people playing those games are already going to fucking go see your movie.
Exactly.
I'm talking about Joe Schmo, who's not always paying attention.
I'm getting to that, because the whole thing is... No, the problem with Disney, and especially with Brad Bird, they wanted to create this huge universe around it. They didn't want to just create a movie and just slap a Disney theme park name attached to it. It was actually pretty impressive how much world building there was in this movie, but in doing so, they didn't want to release a lot of the or let me phrase it, they didn't want to fall into the same pitfalls as a lot of other movie trailers out there, which is give away 3/4 of the film, you know what's going to happen within the first 30 seconds of a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very secretive about a couple things here and there. They got a little more loose with what they were releasing about a week before, and then bam, the movie's out.
You know what I mean? Like, the problem with that is, I don't even know what the movie's about. Other than blonde chick finds a pin, meets George Clooney, and there's some future world. I understand that you want to build mystery.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to give me a little bit.
A little more
to make me actually be interested in that.
Exactly.
That's like the drug dealer going, you want to try cocaine? What's cocaine? You want to try cocaine? What can you tell me about it? Cocaine. You want to try cocaine? You or at least be like, try a little bit first. See if you like this.
Here's a little sample. Get them hooked, and then.
But see, Tomorrowland didn't even like. We have this. Do you want this?
Right.
What is this? Do you want it? You're not.
The thing is, though, like I said, after watching it, fantastic movie. You could easily have a sequel or two added onto it. But given the fact that it's doing so poorly in theaters, I really don't expect.
Do you think we're really just not going to get one at all, or do you think they're going to be like a Tron, where it's like you're going to get one, it's just
it's going to take like 10 years.
It's going to take a decade. Like, we have to recuperate first.
I think what's going to happen is Disney after this is going to focus most of their efforts on the new Tron, and then redouble their efforts in the back and try to get Tomorrowland out there. Not in the sense of here's the movie, but start incorporating more aspects from the movie into their theme parks, into.
But you know what I mean? Like, you have a movie based off of that. Like, the few times I went to Disney, even when I knew the movie was coming out, I never even saw a tiny wisp or hint of the movie.
No, there wasn't much at all.
I mean, even so much as, fucking pin traders having that as on their fucking lanyard. Mm-hmm. Not even that.
Yeah.
It's like, I think they could have done more publicity-wise to make people actually give a shit.
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, you have things like, Tron. Tron Legacy was a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I bought the limited edition version. Blu-ray.
Yeah, the ultimate fuck-off pack. Yeah, I have the same thing. It's amazing.
And then they also have things like Electronica, which they had at California Adventure for well over a year.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that, though.
Really? I was a huge fan of that. When they announced the Mad Tea Party, I was one of the people who was saying, fuck this, bring back Electronica. When they did this whole Frozen thing, at first I was, big Frozen fan. Fuck yeah, let's go check it out. We go there like a week after it launched. It's a reskin of the Mad Tea Party set. There's really not anything special about it. It looks like haphazard. And I went, fuck this, bring back Electronica.
Well, see, the problem I had with Electronica, like, I remember when I went there, my mom was super excited to take me, and she's like, Tron, you love Tron, let's go.
Right.
Fuck yeah, Tron. I was more, even my sister's like, Jordan, you're not going to like it. You don't know that. The only thing I liked was Flynn's Arcade.
Oh, I spent way too much time and money in Flynn's Arcade.
Other than that, like, the drinks were not great and super expensive.
Well, they're pre-made, thrown in the back in a giant slushy machine.
Yeah. And then most of it, I guess it was just the day I went. It was nothing but a bunch of 90-pound feminine men just gyrating on platforms.
Ooh.
Like, I guess normally there's at least a decent guy-to-girl ratio.
All the times I went, there was always that decent guy-girl ratio.
When I went, the only girl that was there was the one that was playing Frisbee with herself, like in the front.
Oh, no.
So literally, I just was 90, again, small, feminine gay men gyrating on stages.
You had such a bad experience.
With way too much face paint. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't feel like I'm on the grid. I feel like I just walked into West Hollywood, and someone's someone's probably giving each other grid. Do you remember grid?
Yes.
I'm sorry if there's anyone of that orientation here. That was a very poor joke, but made me laugh.
Fair enough. I will say this: if and most definitely when Electronica comes back, we will go. I will take you, and hopefully you will have a better experience at that point. But going all the way back, the reason I was talking about Electronica and Tron and whatnot is that to help tie in with Tron Legacy, they started doing all these things throughout the theme parks. I think they're going to try to do a reverse version of that with Tomorrowland. Start
It's
updating
too late,
parts of
though.
But the thing is, if they try to double down their efforts for a sequel, which is easily plausible, I can see them trying to do something like that. You don't think so?
Okay, in Disneyland, what part are they going to try to change for Tomorrowland?
You just said it right there.
Oh, no.
Tomorrowland.
Okay. What is the other big thing they have at Tomorrowland
Oh,
that has even more
fuck
shit coming
me.
out?
Yeah, Star Wars. Never mind.
Even on top of that, what's the other thing
Other
Tomorrowland
things
has?
God, Marvel. I hate it when I'm wrong. Yeah.
I don't think you hate it. I think you have some weird masochistic tendencies. I think that's why you have me do the show, because I'm the one that asks. So it's like, really? Do you want to talk about this?
Fair enough.
What Disney did was too little, too late, and there's no way they're going to jeopardize Marvel or Star Wars to try to pump more blood into
Tomorrowland.
to the dead turd that is Tomorrowland.
Yeah, which is sad.
Yeah.
Now, will you still eventually go see it, or will you wait for it comes out on DVD or something?
Either one.
Either one?
I mean, I don't like going to the movies unless it's midnight movies with all the nerds.
Right.
I mean, I did go see Pitch Perfect the other day. It was okay.
Is it one of those, if you've seen the first movie, you would enjoy this one? If you haven't, you'd be completely lost?
No, like, you can go into the second and be like, okay, this is what's going on. I mean, if you like the first one, you'll probably definitely like it, but it's what you would expect. I mean, it's not great. It's not bad.
Gotcha.
A little racist towards the Germans.
Okay. Yeah, I have not seen Pitch Perfect 2.
You haven't seen the first one, though, have you?
No, I haven't. I've been told time and time again I need to go see it, and we started watching it like a month and a half ago. I only watched the first 10 minutes, then we got distracted by something else. I haven't watched either yet.
Look, as a dude, even I can admit it's a good movie, and that's not just me, because I have a weakness for, yeah. No, surprisingly enough, not about gingers this time. Actually, it's just Anna. Honestly, no, Anna Kendrick and Anna Camp, the brunette and the blonde are the only ones I'm like, yep. Not the ginger in the movie, which is weird.
That is very weird for you. Yes. No, because the night that Jess went to go see Pitch Perfect 2, her friend's husband had no interest in seeing it, but wanted to go see Mad Max. At the time, I was like, I was more confused why Mad Max was getting such high, consistent ratings. That I was like, sure, let's go see
Did
it.
it match up?
Oh my god, it did. It was a movie I went into with absolutely zero expectations and walked out a fan.
Nice.
It was definitely the surprise of the year for me. It was no surprise to me that it'll probably get a sequel or two.
Oh yeah, they've already greenlit a second one, and there's already in talks for a third one.
Yeah. It's a 2-hour car chase.
Yeah.
With practically everything except for one single scene.
I'm assuming it's Fast and the Furious that blatantly knows we're not taking ourselves seriously.
It's even more so than that, because the whole thing with Fast and Furious is that there was always several scenes where everything you saw on the
CG
screen was CG. Everything in Mad Max, with the exception of one scene, everything was a proper physical effect. They built the vehicles, they did the explosions there. It was incredible.
Because you have an old school director doing it.
Yeah.
Old enough to the point where if you try to explain CG, he's like, what?
Yeah.
What's a CG? Computer generated. No, we don't need generators for computers. Like, we're just going to do film. Speaking of directors and movies and whatnot.
Yeah, let's talk about Ant-Man.
Basically, the Evangeline, whatever. The main girl in the new Ant-Man movie basically came out and explained the main differences between the original Edgar Wright script and the new updated script that's not being done by Edgar Wright. I mean, it just makes me sad because I guess the main thing that she said was the original Edgar Wright one was a bit more comedic.
Oh yeah.
And less dark, and that the version we're getting is more American. Which...
Take that as you will.
I took that as, you're not going to understand the humor, so we had to dumb it down for you.
Yeah.
And just give you so-so plot. And that makes me feel sad.
There's a lot of stuff they could have done.
Well, because she even said the humor in it, the Edgar Wright version, was smart. And it was very funny.
which you and I would have absolutely loved, and a number of people would have enjoyed as well. But unfortunately, the overall general populace probably would have think, "Oh, I don't understand this. I don't want to go see this now." Or,
well, dude, BBC's is on the rise and shit like that. Look at Sherlock. Look at Doctor Who.
Yep.
Whatever bullshit else is out there. But I know those three, or those two in particular, it's making its way over here, and we're all just gobbling it up like no fucking tomorrow.
True, and even before, when people started getting into the TV shows, there was always Edgar Wright's other films, like the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, which was fantastic, Hot Fuzz, World's End, not so much, but
it was okay. Went out with a whimper.
Yeah,
I think that was more or less because I think he just wanted to play it safe. Because I remember originally before that came out, there was talks of that one being a musical,
which I think would have been fantastic. But yeah.
Well, considering before that he did Scott Pilgrim, which basically was a musical.
Yeah. And I loved that film. That was an amazing film.
It was good. I mean, I only had the one problem with it.
Which was?
Who stars in that movie?
Oh, yes. The guy you hate with the passion. Okay, cool. Never mind. Understand.
One of a few?
Yes.
But no. Basically, now we found out that that's what Edgar Wright's script would have been. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense why Joss Whedon came out and even said, like, that was one of the best projects Marvel ever had. And they fucking shit-canned it.
Yep.
Which sucks, because I would have hoped that Joss Whedon would be like, no, make this movie. Trust me.
You would have thought
I made Avengers.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anybody within the Marvelverse would have the clout to try to pull something like that, it would have been Joss Whedon saying, this is amazing. Trust me on this. I've made you guys at least $2 billion already.
As much as I love Joss Whedon, I'm still intrigued as what we would have gotten if Marvel would have not been douchey and Jon Favreau would have directed Avengers.
Ooh.
You remember that, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Because after Iron Man 1, after 2, he asked for more money because he's like, look, you guys paid me like less than what a normal director would have made, and I made you a fucking shit ton of money.
Yep.
Can I get paid like a normal person? And can I still do Avengers? You told me I could do Avengers.
Yeah.
So they turned around, told him you could do 2, but we're going to add all these stipulations to make sure you can't make a good movie, and then we're going to take away 3 from you and Avengers. And they just gave him the bird.
But see, as much as that sucks, he's still making money off of it. He's still labeled
he's still
as
a producer.
A producer on these, which means
I'm sure
he gets
still
some
has
money.
a say.
He gets some of the credit. He has some say in what's going on with it, but he has almost dick for responsibility.
Yeah, but he doesn't have that Disney Marvel swagger though, where they're like, yeah, no.
Yeah, this is true.
Anywhoozle.
Let's keep
Star Wars
the
news.
The Disney family with Star Wars. There was an article that came out actually giving more information about Andy Serkis's role within the upcoming Star Wars Force Awakens. And we now find out that his character is called Supreme Leader Snoke, Snoke. How would you say that?
Snooky.
Snooky?
I don't know. It's one O away from being Snooky, so.
Mm-hmm. We have no idea who this character is. The rumors pointed towards being obviously a villain, but he's the leader in the First Order, which is the name of the remnants of the Galactic Empire, which are now operating. I don't know. I look at it as he could easily play a villain in this. He has the acting chops for it. Not to mention, people are wondering, is it going to be him in real life? Is it going to be him what it normally does, which is CG mocap?
I more or less feel really bad for the man.
Because of his mocap outfit?
No, not even that. I mean, that's how the man makes his living. Like,
True.
You know, if you're going to do a big budget movie, it's like, we need someone to do mocap. Get that Andy Serkis guy. And that's always what seems to happen.
Right.
I mean, justifiably so. The man's good at it, I think. I don't know of anyone else that's actually done it, so...
Well, he's the one that's really turned it into an art form.
If you will. Yeah, I'll give you that.
He's the one that, for things like Planet of the Apes and whatnot, he's the guy who would take that to a whole other level.
Smeagol.
Yeah, obviously. I mean,
as they really went Planet of the Apes before he went to Smeagol?
I was working backwards towards it.
Or even King Kong. King Kong was a piece of shit, but the King Kongadness that he pulled off was decent.
That's the thing,
went straight Planet of the Apes.
It's what he... Well, that's the whole thing, though. He had this whole thing with the extension of the arms and actually created this whole... Not only persona, but a whole slew of movements, not only for his character, but all the other mocap characters out there. It was a pretty daunting undertaking from what he created.
But anyways, like, I feel bad because that is his shtick now.
which
And I have to
I
wonder.
wouldn't even call it his shtick. I mean, that's just
No, that's his shtick. Like, let's be honest.
All right.
If you were to pull up his IMDb page right now, say he has 10 things, just 10 things on his IMDb.
Right.
How many of them do you want to guess are his actual face?
1.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, fine. It's your shtick.
Because everything else is the man in a fucking green triangular onesie and telling him, go pretend like you're an animal. You're not people anymore. We don't want to see this.
Well,
we can fix that in post.
Yes.
I mean, that's why I feel bad for the man.
But the thing is, though, he's the one that's been pushing for the whole fact that mocap actors and actresses should be actually eligible for, award nominations. Because even though, yes...
Or at least give them their own category of some kind.
I mean, even though you're not seeing their actual face, it is CG, which is partially helped out by the animators. The core of that scene, of the emotions, of the action, of the what's going on in that scene, is by the actors.
I think it's the
and
perfect
actresses.
marriage of silent film and what we have today. Because again, because in that mood, you have to be able to over emote because that's how you actually get shit done.
Exactly.
And especially with him, sometimes he still does the voice. I mean, shit, him as Smeagol. Like when they showed the behind the scenes where he was doing the whole conversation of Smeagol and Gollum, where he was talking back. I have a weird weakness for like when characters play dual roles at the same time.
They're entertaining as hell.
Like when Gollum and Smeagol were talking, or the only tolerable scene of the Raimi Spider-Mans, where Willem Dafoe was talking to himself in the mirror, holding like that. That was amazing.
But I have to say, like, in this one scene, we have this one image that was in this, I think it was in Vanity Fair, sorry. Yeah. He's sitting there in his mocap suit, fully decked out with all the little balls in his face and everything, surrounded by basically a mocap scanning system.
He looks very disappointed, like a 5-year-old that's told, we're not getting ice cream today.
No, I see it differently with his face, with the head down. Of course, the lighting's helping out with it a bit.
It's a bit pouty, though. Like
it can be seen.
Look at that photo and be like, Andy, we're not getting ice cream today. I know I said we were, but it's not happening.
the fuck you face.
Just that look of you said we were getting ice cream. I'm sorry, we got to go visit your Aunt Flo instead.
Oh, jeez.
Look of anger and disappointment.
So
that's what that looks like.
In either case, to have basically the quintessential mocap guy on this film playing a brand new character, I'm looking forward to see what he can bring to the table for this.
We'll see.
So
I've been burned before by things, and I wanna keep an open mind.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we've been talking about almost an hour so far yet. Let's talk about the other Fox thing real quick. Between Fox and Marvel, aka Disney, this whole thing between what Fox has access to in terms of the Marvel movies, back when Marvel only had Marvel Films to help them get out of bankruptcy, they signed these deals with Fox to create movies for the X-Men, and which is basically, I would say the first 2 X-Men movies were responsible for trying to get the whole superhero current movie genre forward. That's the way I look at it. Because listen, before then, what do you have?
For Marvel, yeah, that's I'm trying to think chronologically everything that came out.
We're not talking about the crap-tacular ones that we love to watch.
No. I'm talking like the actual ones. Like as a kid, you're like, oh yeah, I want that Halloween costume and shit like that.
Right.
Yeah, because I want to say X1 came out before Spider-Man.
Yeah, X-Men. And
Spider-Man was the big one. I mean, prior to that, I mean, you had the Batman movies.
Right.
But
at that point, you were getting very. That was the George Clooney years.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the X-Men
no,
films.
there was a dry spell of like 6 years almost, I want to say. Because remember, the Clooney ones came out around like 2000-ish?
No, it was 90s.
Yeah, like mid-90s, I want to say.
Yeah, because the first X-Men movie came out in 2000.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the Clooney Batman, I want to say came out mid to late 90s.
Okay.
So at that point, you had a decent gap of no movies.
Yeah.
Until someone decided, yeah, let's take a chance on a superhero movie again.
Right.
And then I think X-Men was the first one.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing that back in 1993, 1994, Marvel Films and Fox penned the agreement so that they would have, I think it was like a 6 or 7 year deal to create an X-Men movie, which they did finally in 2000. They added another deal after that for Fantastic Four, which secured both rights for, I think, at least another decade or something like that, if not longer. The problem is, what was helping out Marvel at the time to try to get themselves out of bankruptcy is now kind of biting them in the ass right now because of the fact with ever since Marvel was bought by Disney and they started turning things around, actually a little bit beforehand to be honest, with all the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you have Fox going, well, we have all these rights.
There's a 3-year part.
We're still going to make these movies, and we're going to market them all over the place because that's kind of what, we make the majority of our money. Not necessarily on the movie tickets themselves, but also all the marketing stuff, all the, slap their face on a children's
T-shirts, and everything. It's well, because it's one of those things.
It's the George Lucas mentality.
Well, not even that. Like, remember when I said with X-Men, it's one of those things like you remember, the Wolverine claws. You remember wanting the Halloween costume. You remember the assholes wearing the T-shirts. Like, you remember the marketing and everything around it. Because chances are you weren't old enough to remember or even go see the movie.
Fair enough.
So I think Marvel is definitely trying to kill it.
Which they have been trying to bring back everything under their tentpole for a while. I mean, look at the current deal between Marvel / Disney and Sony regarding Spider-Man. Sony reboots Spider-Man to be part officially with the MCU. Sony still makes their own individual movies, but Marvel has the ability to use the same character and actor in their films, tying it all in. Makes perfect sense.
Well, because they only own the movie rights.
Fox?
Because if Spider-Man, if you create an action figure that's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Unless it says Spider-Man the movie, that money goes to Marvel.
True.
If it says, Spider-Man the movie, then that movie studio gets it. So if you release a movie and build hype around it, guess what? Yeah, you might get the Spider-Man the movie action figure money, but guess what? We still have the T-shirts, the lunchboxes, the cartoons that we can tie into it.
Right.
That they're still gonna rank, and to them that's perfect.
True.
So that's where they were smart, and I don't think Fox is ready to do that yet. I mean, I think Jessica was the one that sent me some weird fucking Tumblr post today, about wanting Deadpool to show up in the next Avengers movie.
Which would be amazing.
Them just talking shit, and you hear a microwave in the background going off, and there's Deadpool with the chimichanga, just like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah. And then we're out the window. Catch me, Spidey! Thud.
Catch
Fuck
me,
you,
Spidey-chan.
You hear a thud in the background. Fuck you, Parker. But going back with the whole between Fox and Marvel, they're already doing several things to try to not separate themselves, but more so try to hinder Fox's ability to make such a large profit on these movies.
I don't want to...
Well, the whole thing is like you have the Fantastic Four comic book.
I guess I wouldn't say hindrance, because hindrance means like they're going out of their way to like trip them up. Like that's like tying someone's shoes together and then be like, oh, you want to have a foot race?
Right.
That's not really what they're doing. They're more or less just saying, cool, you don't get to play in the same sandbox. We're just not going to help you.
Well,
you go do your thing.
The biggest thing was the whole bit between mutants into Inhumans.
Miracles.
Well, before it was the Age of Miracles, and then they started doing the whole Inhumans aspect years before I thought they were actually going to, considering the fact that Inhumans, the movie, doesn't schedule to be released into, 2019, I think?
Testing the waters.
Yeah, okay.
Well, no, look at it this way. You know what kind of people actually know who the Inhumans are and what they can do? Nerds!
Yeah, fair enough.
You want to guess the kind of people who've invested the time reading these comics and know these characters? Nerds!
Yeah.
It's fan service on a grand scale.
It really is.
Which is smart on their part.
Very true. But the whole thing right now they're focusing on is the whole merchandising aspect. Marvel's rejecting new poster ideas that have to do anything with the Fantastic Four. They're modifying comic covers before they get printed on T-shirts, which is the big thing to do nowadays, to negate some of those characters from the Fox films. Is that really going too far? Is that too petty? Or is it basically the nerds going, well, if you're not going to give me the actual cover for this shirt, I'm just going to make my own?
Like I say, it seems like a dick move. I mean, it's one of those things, is it really going to damage you that much to put that one put fucking Wolverine on that one T-shirt?
Right.
You have all the other Avengers and everyone else kicking ass. The original comic book cover had Wolverine like over here in the corner. And it's for them to be like, yeah, he's part of the X-Men. So we're just going to erase him? Everything else on the shirt is fine. It's like, that's a dick move.
It's really a dick move.
That's a passive-aggressive dick move. Like, it's not that bad.
Well,
that's the Post-it note on the fridge. It's like, hey, would you mind doing your dishes?
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't say that to me, or send a text or something.
Well, there was the whole thing with Marvel once again delving into the history of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Are they or aren't they Magneto's children? They turned around recently.
Yeah, no, that was my favorite, because that was the whole thing. A lot of nerds were confused over this whole rights issue.
Mm-hmm.
Not mutant rights. We already know they don't count as people. They need to be registered. There's the only way to make sure. Because in the comics, for the longest time, they were mutants. I mean, they're the offspring of Magneto,
right?
One of the most prominent characters in the X-Men comics. And then out of fucking nowhere, it turned around, and they're just like, oh yeah, we're not his children anymore.
No, you're kids of this Romanian couple, and
yeah. So I remember when I read that in the comics, I'm like, you just retconned a lot of history.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You guys are a failed experiment.
There's going to be a nerd on Reddit that's just going to be really pissed off now.
Which will be entertaining as hell to read later on.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing. We're not the average nerd. Yeah. Well, I like to think we are, because there is that sect of people who are just always angry.
True.
And, like, someone like me who knows and appreciates nerd stuff, like, I can identify, like, why they're angry, but at the same time...
I can still laugh at it.
It's like going to a zoo and seeing a monkey that's really angry and is just throwing his feces.
Mm-hmm.
We get why he's pissed off, because, you know, maybe he didn't get that extra banana in his little lunch bag. But at the same time, it's like, look at that monkey throw his shit.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens with all of this. With all this petty, you know, back and forth, I'm really wondering if, at all, any sort of deal between Fox and Marvel could be reached other than Marvel.
If it does, it's going to be a decade.
It's going to have to be, for the sole fact that now they've created the new Fantastic Four film.
Look at Sony. Look how hard Sony fought to keep Spider-Man to themselves.
Yeah. I mean, that's the deal they struck for that was actually unheard of. We can make movies using your character in the MCU if we reboot it, and if you use our character in any of your MCU films, you have the rights to do it, and you have no access to any of the profits from it. Now, of course, on the end of that is any just sole Spider-Man movie that's being made from now on. Sony gets to keep all the profits. Marvel gets basically none of it.
Yeah, like the only way I can see that working is say this whole Spider-Man thing does well, and I think that Fox can look back and see, yeah, we've made money, and we've done. Or sorry, if Fox can look at Sony and see Sony how much money they've made, be like, oh, I want that Marvel I want that Marvel money.
The multi-billion-dollar deal. Yeah.
And I think if Marvel keeps doing what they're doing and making billions.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Marvel actually paid them any money. They just looked and said, look, if you let us play with your toys, you can make way more money.
No, that's the whole deal with them, is that Sony can make their movies with Spider-Man. They keep all the profits, but Marvel can take that same character and
it's basically just saying we can play with your toys.
Yeah, exactly. You're playing the same sandbox.
That's what I'm saying. I think Fox is going to sit back, wait to see how it works out with Sony. Mm-hmm. Make sure it doesn't bite them in the ass.
True.
I think they're playing things very cautiously, and I think down the road, when they see if it does work out, if they see there is some success there on Sony's part, I think then they might turn around and maybe be a little more willing to share.
True. The only thing, though, is that the thing that Sony has going for itself right now is that if you take all the box office receipts for every single Marvel character out there, Spider-Man is still by far and away the most profitable character.
Out of Marvel or DC.
Yeah.
Spidey's the most profitable hero.
Several $1 billion. But then again, you also had, this will now be the third reboot in less than a decade. And in that decade, you've had, 5, 6 films?
5.
Yeah. So
3 Raimi, 2 Webb.
Mm-hmm. You know, I would never consider them as the directors who wrote them, but more so the actors who played the characters.
I always tie the director to it.
Okay.
Well, because oddly enough, if you look at superhero movies, I mean, other than the whole Superman thing, but that most of us nerds know the fight between that.
Right.
If you look at the directors that swap hands, it's usually that the main actor who plays that hero sticks with that director.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Batman. Tim Burton stuck around for 2 movies. So did Michael Keaton.
True. Very true.
But,
all right.
yeah.
Well, the last thing I want to bring up for this episode doesn't have to do with comics at all. In fact, it has to do partially with video games.
It's motherfucking sports.
Yeah, something we rarely talk about on these shows. Hockey. You have the playoffs going on right now. The finals will start next week.
Yeah, but who cares? Like, no one cares about who's actually involved.
You won't care about this
But look,
story.
the Ducks are on their way out.
Yes, they are.
Go Hawks. I'm not even a Blackhawks fan. All my friends are Ducks fans, and I love giving them shit. On the East Coast, we have Tampa and New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whatever. But Tampa did something amazing.
Yeah, Tampa's
and
marketing,
nerdy as shit.
Tampa's marketing department did an amazing bit with this. It seems to be now the thing to do with these, multi-billion-dollar arenas, whether it be basketball or hockey or any other sport for that matter, is that you can put a ton of high-def, high-lumens cameras and create, 3D projection systems onto, the playing field, the ice, the basketball court, whatever you have, and create some very impressive 3D effects. Well, it seems for the last Tampa Bay game, they decided to do something a little different. They wanted to go old school. They adapted an old Nintendo game called Blades of Steel and turned it into Bolts of Steel, because, Tampa Bay Lightning. And they created, on the ice, with their projections, an old school NES game.
Video's not even playing, and I can't look away from the screen. Oh my god, it's amazing.
I know. It is one of those things it was ingenious. Now, the video that was initially posted online was just a mock-up of what it could look like. But thankfully, someone caught, given thousands of people who were there, a lot of people caught it on their cell phones and posted that online.
And that looks amazing, too.
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing, though. You're going to take all this really cool technology, these old school games. I bet you it's not going to take that much more effort to use the exact same game, but give 2 lucky fans controllers and then play in real time.
No, not even like during intermission.
Yeah.
Because these games, they usually take about half the time anyways.
Right.
Like, just have them in between, like, during intermission, like, bring the nerds back and be like, okay,
dude, that'd be great.
You play your one period of hockey during the intermission, then we kick you the fuck off and bring back the actual players.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I would do that. I would do that so hard.
Now imagine the Kings do that at Staples Center.
So hard. Gay porn, hard. You're all Adonises. Sorry, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you have Netflix, go watch the movie Goon. If you haven't seen it, you're doing a disservice to yourself. I would say our country, but most of the movie takes place in Canada.
Yeah.
But Stifler's in it, and he's awesome.
There you go. All right, everybody. Well, I think that's going to be it for this episode. I want to thank you guys, as always, for hanging out with us and enjoying the drinks, the commentary, the...
Oh, yeah, the beer, by the way, was Alley Cat by Lost Coastlines.
But, the beer was not the highlight at all of this episode. It was definitely... was the... Oh, God. This...
Vesper Martini.
Yeah. I'm just enjoying the I've heard it called Lillet or Lillet. I've heard it called...
I said Lillet.
Ways. You say Lillet?
I mean, it's probably Lillet. I mean, it is French.
Yeah. Still,
but whatever.
Still tasty as hell, so... Thank you guys so much for hanging out as always. We will let you guys know whether or not there'll be an episode next week, but we will be continuing to do these episodes as long as we feel like it, to be honest. It's fun.
Shucks howdy.
So, all right, for Geeks and Drinks, I'm Jason.
I'm Jordan.
Cheers, man.